said, rather than reading a lot of books, I found really good ones, and then I internalized it. I made sure, because often I found from early on when I was reading a lot of books, I'd read it and then I'd move on to the next one, but I hadn't changed. So I just and this is something that I learned is, we to have the knowledge is one thing, to act is different. This is partly from the military training, is that's why you do drill. You do it over and over, so it becomes an unconscious habit. And a lot of times we'll read things, we'll be devouring all this information, but it's just, we know it consciously, not unconsciously. And it's the unconscious area where we need to train ourselves so that we can actually do something different. Because action, I mean, I think we've all had, and your listeners will have had this experience where you've thought you've understood something and you've gone to do it and you've gone, you've messed it up and didn't do it anywhere near as what you thought it was. And the opposite, where you have had the experience where you haven't understood it, or you thought you haven't understood, and surprised yourself with how well you've done it, which that really highlights the difference between conscious understanding and unconscious action. Action is an unconscious action. And that's why I picked a couple of key books and I just internalized it and made it, this is who I am. This is how I internalized that knowledge, and that's what I found made a bigger difference, rather than reading, hitting the book, so to speak, and reading a lot of different books.
Yeah, I love that. I've been doing that now. I was just, as you were talking, I've got this great book, not well, you can't see it maybe on my screen, but it's a book by Michael Singer called Living Untethered. And I was hitting like tons of books, in the beginning following my breakup, which was helpful, but maybe for this unconsciously, like you're saying, for the same reason, perhaps, it got to a point where I kind of felt like it was like overload. And now I have, this one book right now that I'm reading over and over and over again. And, I think you've verbalized maybe what I was feeling, that now I feel like it's kind of getting into my subconscious, where it's almost hopefully with time becoming more and more, part of my life. So I'm grateful that you said that, because that helps me understand why now I'm at a point where I'm reading one book many times as opposed to many books one time. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's the important thing to really, and if one thing the listeners can take from that is that what you've just said is it's not about a multitude of knowledge. One piece of knowledge that you actually internalize becomes an unconscious habit will change your life. Lots of knowledge that you hold consciously won't do anything because your actions are unconscious.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that book for me was the love languages book.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's an awesome book.
Which was given to us during therapy, but that one like rocked my world. It was just like, wait a minute,